Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our County Council meeting, February 23rd. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order is adoption of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read them? If there's no errors, no omissions, I'll look for a motion to adopt them.
So moved.
Purcell and Mennel, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Councillor McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin. Councillor Martin. Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Giguere.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchupa.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
8-1, the motion is carried.
thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof, please? Not noting any, we'll move on. Presenting petitions, presentations, and delegations. And I'll reach down. I think we have Sean, you're on with us. Good morning. Are you there, Sean?
I am here. I hope you can hear me okay.
Oh, certainly. Do you want to explain what I'm holding here?
I'd love to. What you're holding is an award from the Economic Developers Council of Ontario. This past year, we were recognized for innovation and community resiliency, which is a provincial award basically given to us as the successful nominees and winners of any community under 100,000 people from across the province. And it's based on our response to the pandemic. And if you'd like, I'd love to give you a bit of a summary of why we got it.
Please go ahead. We love good news.
And I'll start off by thanking the county for all of your support over the last year. I don't know if you all recognize actually the impact that you've had, and maybe that's on us for not sharing as often as we should. But over the last year, we've actually been involved in a lot of different initiatives that have crossed across Elgin County and St. Thomas. Firstly, though, our COVID-19 Business Development Fund, where we partnered with the Downtown Development Board here in St. Thomas and yourselves. We delivered grants of about $50,000 to over 30 businesses across Elgin and St. Thomas, helping them mitigate the challenges of being shut down through enhancing their online sales and helping their businesses make changes to help them succeed. That program was a huge success, and companies were very thankful for all of our support. Also, to make it a little bit more fun through this challenging time, we did the So Much More Life campaign in partnership with the Chamber, the home builders, yourselves, and the DDB again. Really just to have a little bit of fun with marketing and boost the pride and the neat things that we have in our community. And that campaign is going to continue over this year, as we don't think we're out of the woods yet, and we want to keep having a little bit of fun with it and keep letting people know why we should be proud to be from this region. Our tourism group ran a Love Local campaign, which promoted what was open across Elgin County and St. Thomas for pickup and delivery. We also opened an arts craft shop, which we basically created an online store for artists across St. Thomas and Elgin to sell their products online. We had a number of different artists on there. I believe our highest point at any time was over 70 pieces of art for sale on that site. So we had some good success there and provided an outlet when all their studios had to be closed. If you've been to downtown St. Thomas over the last year, you've seen that maybe our mural campaign has changed it and made it a little bit more colorful of a downtown. We've got 25 murals in the city of St. Thomas right now, and we've got 2 more on the way. And I know that that's a program that the county's also been involved with in your own communities, and it's an exciting thing to really make our destinations one for arts and culture and really drive that traffic. Early on in the pandemic, we wanted to help the small businesses. So we took $20,000 of our own EDC money and we bought products that were produced across St. Thomas and Elgin County. That $20,000 turned into 200 packages, which we sold all of them. It's kind of neat to be able to put out there products that maybe people didn't realize were made here in St. Thomas or Elgin. So it was a fun project all along the way, and we had a lot of people that bought them as gifts for frontline workers. So it kind of had a 2-pronged effect. None of this would have been possible without the support that the county gives us for our Small Business Enterprise Center. Over the last year, our team at the SBEC has fielded, let's say, just over 2,000 inquiries from across our region and beyond. helped create 63 new jobs and facilitate over 70 new business startups and expansions. So it's been a successful program this year. Those numbers that I'm sharing are lower than what would normally happen. As you might expect, a lot of the small business people are in the service sector, and in that sector in particular was hit really hard over the last year. So we're still supporting them. We're still working with a lot of companies as it relates to that, and we're still going to see that kind of growth over the next year. So I just want to say thanks very much to the county for all your support over the last year, and congratulations to you and to us for winning that award. It's a very prestigious one, and really I can't imagine a better award to win in a time like this. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Sean. Before I open, ask anyone if they have any questions of it, I just want to let you know that we appreciate it. Certainly, we value good neighbors, and working together always works best. So partners are so important. But open the floor to anyone that'd like to make a comment. Or not seeing any, but it's certainly good news to start with, Sean, and thank you for joining us today. Take care.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Receive and file? Yes. Motion to receive and file, please. Apparently this is going to sit in the office, so. Jones and Mennel, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Counselor Purcell, Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchiba,
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. We're at the point of moving into committee of the whole. Mover and seconder, please. French and Ketchiba, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Counselor Purcell,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones, Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchiba,
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you for that. Staff reports. Mr. Lawrence, I believe you're up first. Go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and good morning to you and the rest of the council. An application received for council exemption for woodlands clearing from Mr. Lou Murta requesting permission to clear approximately 0.3 hectares of woodland from his property in West Elgin for the purposes of providing driveway access to his lakeside parcel on part of Lot 4 in Concession 15. I'll start off by giving a little bit of the history of the property. Many of you will be somewhat familiar with this as it came before council a couple years ago. Historically, Mr. Nerda has accessed his property, his lakeside parcel through Hickory Grove Campground, which is located immediately west of the lakeside parcel. Although a 33-foot right-of-way at the extreme west of Lot 4 did exist. In 2015, council granted the applicant an exemption to clear trees from the 33-foot right-of-way, although work was not undertaken at the time and the exemption expired. The exemption decision at that time required the applicant to plant 525 trees of acceptable species and stock at a predetermined location on his lakeside parcel, and to pay all monies outstanding in respect of prior convictions, and to comply with all signage and notice requirements as required by the bylaw, prior to commencement of the exempted clearing of trees. In 2018, Mr. Nerda acquired registered title to the 33-foot strip, as well as an additional 40-foot strip of land immediately to the east of that 33-foot strip. It is understood that the purpose of the combined 73-foot strip of land, a portion anyhow, is an access laneway from Gray Line to his southern lakeside parcel overlooking Lake Erie. In 2019, Mr. Nerda submitted an application for council exemption to permit the clearing of trees from the former 33-foot right-of-way. At that time, the Hickory Grove Campers Association objected to the approval of the council exemption application based on dispute ownership of that 33-foot right-of-way from which Mr. Nerda proposed to remove the trees. Council at that time ultimately denied approval of that application. Of note, the applicant, NERDA, was previously convicted of violations of Woodlands Conservation Bylaw 503 for the removal of trees from the right-of-way in question. All financial penalties levied under these convictions were paid in full, have been paid in full. Getting on to the application before us. The current application seeks permission to remove trees from the easterly 40 feet of the 73-foot strip to facilitate the construction of the access laneway. The following maps depict the location of the property, the general outline and shape of the property that is subject to this application, as well as the approximate location of the proposed clearing. Also included is a scanned portion of a survey of the property at the location of the proposed clearing that notes the 33-foot strip as well as the 40-foot strip. As per the requirements of the Woodlands Conservation Bylaw, letters were sent to all adjacent landowners, and the property was posted 21 business days in advance of the application being considered by council. No objections were received from the neighboring landowners or from the general public during the posting and notification process, although were received from council representing the Hickory Grove Campers Association. Correspondence received from the council for the Hickory Grove Campers Association with respect to this application indicate that they do not object to removal of trees from the eastern 40-foot strip. The correspondence did further note, however, that legal proceedings concerning the ownership of the remaining 33-foot strip comprising the former right-of-way are ongoing. A photocopy of the correspondence from the council for the Campers Association has been attached to the report for review. The applicant has identified the area on the map, another map that was attached to this report, as an area they would be willing to reforest by planting 525 trees in order to meet Elgin County's no net loss policy, and has indicated that they expect to plant more trees in this area than would be required to meet the no net loss policy. Now, of note, not included in my report, is there was a situation this past spring where Mr. Nerda cleared underlying vegetation, didn't remove any trees from the 40-foot strip, and without surveys at the time that clearly depicted all those lines, did clear a little bit of understory vegetation from that contested 33-foot right-of-way. So noting that ownership of the adjacent 33-foot right-of-way is disputed, and in discussion with the county solicitor to avoid a similar situation that we encountered this past spring, council may wish to consider imposing additional conditions to approval, including proper demarcation of both the interior boundary line of the disputed area and a line 5 feet within the area to be harvested by a qualified surveyor with confirmation to the tree commissioner. No harvest or removal of trees within the 5-foot buffer of land between the lines marked as set forth in item 1 above. Harvest and removal of trees only in a manner that does not allow any trees to fall within the disputed area. No damage to be caused within the disputed area, including any trees or vegetation within it. Harvest removal of removal works not to begin prior to specific written authorization from the tree commissioner after inspection of site following at least 48 hours notice of proposed commencement of such works. No entry within the disputed area during the harvest removal works, and then monitoring of the tree harvest removal works by the surveyor or a professional forester retained by the applicant to ensure no works are undertaken in that 5-foot strip as referenced above or within the disputed area. And the applicant must provide a written notice of the identity of the monitor at least 7 days prior to the commencement of the harvest works. After completion of the tree removal works, the retained surveyor or forester shall file a report with the tree commissioner outlining observations and confirming compliance with the conditions. So my recommendation is before you. It includes a lot of what I just went over. I can repeat them if necessary, but if you wish.
The report, Jeff. Are there any questions for Mr. Lawrence?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Warden.
Go ahead.
If we agree to this stuff, will we finally put this to bed after about 4 years?
I believe that's the intent and then the hope anyhow.
Okay, well, I will move it.
All right, any further questions? Dominique?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm wondering about if you could expand on the conditions and like who and what are we protecting with all of the conditions? I obviously understand the first one for the no net loss, but the other conditions seem to be a lot about the disputed area, which sort of seems to be an issue that's beyond the county's responsibility and why we're taking on that burden.
Ooh, I believe Mr. Gibson would like to answer this one.
Council may recall that in 2019, the reason for the denial was the issue of encroachment onto the disputed area of land. And so with reference to the situation last year, as well as recognizing the reason for the previous denial, the additional conditions are meant to ensure that we aren't permitting entry onto, damage to, harvest, or removal of trees from the disputed area, again, which was the reason for the denial in the previous appeal hearing. So it's a matter of consistency.
Mr.
Go,
Warden?
go ahead.
If I may, just another question about the replanted, the site that is being proposed for the replanted trees. Is there a criteria for what is deemed an appropriate location and who can use that? And I say that in the context of I'm aware of other projects where planting near the shore subject to erosion was not an appropriate site because the no net loss, like these trees may not see or may not come to maturity. So is there a criteria and who approved that?
Go ahead. Thank you, Councilor. Yeah, there is no criteria from that perspective. What I can do, though, is reach out to Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority in that area, determine how many years of erosion safety or setback that may meet. And if it falls within it's an issue in the short term, maybe we can look for a second location or an alternate location to plant.
That's satisfactory, Dominique?
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. It needs to be reviewed and to be consistent with other projects.
Further comments? We have a mover to the motion. Do we have a seconder? Grant? Seconder? No further questions. We'll call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Councillor McPhail,
Yes.
Councillor Purcell,
Yes.
Councillor Martin,
Yes.
Councillor Jones,
Yes.
Councillor French,
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer,
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah,
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Next report is Michelle. You're up, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden, through to members of council. The report before you is the Homes Administration Policy Manual Review and Revisions. And as per the Long-Term Care Home Act, policy and procedures do have to be reviewed annually. So that's been completed and the changes are outlined for the impacted policies before you. The policy manual does align with the Long-Term Care Home Act, related regulations, best practices to support resident and staff safety and service delivery. So there's two recommendations before you. The first, that the report be received and filed, and secondly, that council approve the policy manual review and revisions for 2020. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Nancy?
Michelle.
Michelle, I'm sorry. I was looking at Nancy.
It's all good.
All right, mover and seconder, please. Purcell and Jones, call the vote, please.
Deputy Warden Mennel, Councillor McPhail,
Yes.
Councillor Purcell,
Yes.
Councillor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba,
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes. Thank you for that.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
All right, thank you. I was a little ahead of myself. Nancy, go ahead, please. You're up next. Good morning.
Good morning. Through you, Warden, to members of council. This is a report recommending approval of an official plan amendment in the township of Malahide. I'm going to keep it very brief, but it's basically located at 51631 and 51553 Carlton Line. And ultimately, the amendment would permit the expansion of an existing industrial use in an agricultural area. I'm available for any questions anyone has.
Mr.
Thank you.
Warden, could I
Yes.
please make a comment?
You certainly may. Go ahead.
I'm just taking this from the statement from the planning justification report. It states establishing a new industrial operation of comparable size elsewhere within the town of Aylmer or township of Malahide within a settlement area on lower soil class lands is problematic as there are no lower priority lands available. So I just want to remind council that Aylmer have two industrial plots. One is 8 acres and the other one is well over 50 acres. We just invested $1.8 million to support local businesses for industrial sites, and also to bring in new people as well. So I just want to bring that to the attention that there likely is lands available. Also, our staff have not been approached, so they were not questioned about this whatsoever.
Mr. Warden,
Yes, go ahead.
just as a clarification, this is an addition to the already existing site where Mr. Thiesen's had an ongoing business for the last 12 years. He's been very successful. I think he employs over 100 people, and he's expanding his business on the same site as the existing business. So this is not a new industrial site.
Can I make another
guess-
comment, please?
You certainly may.
And I understand that, and I'm not against it, Councillor Mennel. It's just I wanted to bring it to the attention of our council that this land is available, and that was a statement in the report. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood our stance in Aylmer. Thank you.
And this expansion is onto agricultural land, isn't it?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, through you, Mr. Warden, it's an expansion in an agricultural area. What happened was I believe this particular use was previously an industrial related agricultural use. Over time, it has kind of converted to a more industrial type of use, but because the use employs over 100 people and is a major employer in Malahide at this time, we sort of weighed that versus the agricultural policies that within the official plan and the provincial policy statement with respect to this expansion and continued use.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, go ahead.
I guess a comment. I know from things that have happened in Southold, working on changes. When you look at lower class agricultural land, my understanding is there is none in Elgin County. All agricultural land is A1. So that's if it's lower class agricultural, it's probably in a protected zone, which would be lowlands and floodplain.
Through you, Mr. Warden, that is correct. From what I understand, most of the county of Elgin, if not all of it, the issue is that all of our ag lands are of the highest priority. So one of the criteria that you use when identifying non-agricultural uses in the agricultural area is trying to find a lower class of agricultural lands to locate uses on. And in the county, excuse me, there really isn't any. So it's across the board, all first-class agricultural lands.
I get the argument and understand the argument. It's when the statement is made that agricultural land is supreme, and then it's sometimes followed with the word but. And I guess that's reality, but we're here to make a decision. So the report is before us. Any more comments before Councilor Purcell? Go ahead. Okay, Counselor McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Having the opportunity of having 100 agricultural or having 100 jobs in an agricultural area quite often benefits the rest of the agricultural area by allowing those individuals not only to have an outside job, but also to stay on the farm. So I think it's a win-win all the way around, and I'd be prepared to move it.
Thank you, and it looks like a seconder from Councilor Purcell, and I agree, like sometimes having a welding shop, it's convenient, you don't have to go very far. You get your lawnmower blade sharpened, et cetera, it's all convenient, so. And it's employment, and that's what keeps us moving, so. Are we ready for the vote? Please go ahead, call it.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Counselor Purcell,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba,
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you.
Thank you.
I believe there's another one coming up, Nancy. Carry on.
Yes. Through you, Mr. Warden, to members of council, this is the follow-up report from the last council meeting, the presentation with respect to the settlement boundary expansions. We've included 3 recommendations as part of this report, which are open for discussion. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Purcell, go ahead.
Yes, I'm the person that caused this report to come forward, so I thought I'd speak to it first. Nancy's done an excellent report that outlines some of the issues in that. I can save us a lot of time on the discussion. The immediate emergency issues in Dunwich, we've found a way to resolve them by doing it in a basically a three-phased way. We're going to do a land swap for one of the issues. We're going to do a what they call it redistribution for the second issue, and then we're willing to go along with the process with the official plan. In other words, all the justification for populations, etc., with the county timeframe, and be part of that. They will be drilling down each of our municipalities individually, so that was one of my concerns, and that's going to be addressed. Plus, Nancy was nice enough to put me together with some ministry folks yesterday, and they've assured us that they understand this migration from the Toronto GTA that impacts the Kitchener-Waterloo, then they're coming our way, that it's very, very real, and that the mirror view of the old numbers won't work. They're going to take into consideration the real life migration of people out of the big cities into the smaller areas like ours when they do the numbers. So that'll all be something that we're all part of and have full public participation. So it gets down to the point, I'm happy to move the acceptance of this report. I still would like to see it sent on to the 2 ministers outlined. We have the areas that we need to do some talking with them to make life a little easier for all the planners, and that are around areas that there's about 3 types of areas that are problematic. I call them sterile or frozen areas. If you look at, for example, the Ford Motor Plant property in Grant's area, that should get a special designation, and it should not affect the calculations of the rest of that municipality. That's a very unique, large thing that benefits the province and the county and everything else. So they should be able to have some mechanism where they can take a very special piece of land like that probably has a bunch of environmental issues too, and kind of set that aside and deal with it as a separate entity. The other type of area like that is all of us have these 3 old rail lines running through our municipalities, and all of that land is totally contaminated. We're trying to deal with one Integris, one big entity that bought one of them, but there's 2 other American rail lines that own them, and they pay their taxes, but you can't talk to them other than that because you can't find anybody. Those things shouldn't come into the calculations for your municipality when you're looking at settlement areas and that. So there's those type of things. We did one of the things that Nancy was able to use and she came up with the solution for us. So we don't have the urgency. We're going to work on that off.
is the province did do this redistribution allowance last year. So that's relatively new, and I think that's important, and Nancy can explain that to any individual municipality that's got problems like ours, where we need to act yesterday on a certain piece of property. So I'm happy to leave it at that way, and I'm happy to move the report, but I'd still like to see it go on so we can talk about some of these orphan areas, sterile areas, areas that need to give some flexibility to local planners to do it right, because they are unique. And one of the other areas is a lot of the properties over the years change. It might have been set aside as residential. I have a piece of property in Dutton that I was honest about. It's about 6 acres. We're never going to develop that, but it's labeled for future development of residential. So if it's out of production, then you should be able to address that. And that's the type of thing we need to tidy up. I'll throw it back to you, sir.
Thanks, Bob. Councillor Jones, comment?
Yes, I'd like to also thank Nancy for the report. It's good to hear that the province is listening, and maybe we can overcome some of these challenges we're facing in the future. Like Dunwich, the rail lines is a concern when they go right through the middle of town, and they're listed as residential, but obviously they've put no build clauses on those, or a lot of restrictions on those, what you can do with it. And residential and parklands, 2 no-nos. So what do you do with a piece of land that goes right down through the middle of town, and there's houses on either side of it? You're going to do nothing with it because there's nothing you can do with it. So I'm glad to hear that the CEOs are going to be talking with municipal affairs in the next week or two, and looking forward to what comes from that. Thanks, Nancy.
Councillor Jones, are you prepared to make a seconder?
I will.
Motion? Okay, thank you. Certainly the value of good staff cooperating with the mayors is very evident here, so appreciate that. We have a mover and seconder. Any further comments before I call the vote? Please go ahead.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Councillor McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you for that. Next, welcome, Brian, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you to County Council. This report is for Council's information and outlines how we plan to move forward with a project to install murals at 6 locations across the county as a result of the funding we've received last year from the estate of Donna Vera Evans Bushel. The proposed locations are listed in the report. Municipally owned buildings, including library branches. We will be issuing a call or a request for pre-qualification on this to the artist community, and your respective councils can expect to hear from Mike and me with the details of the proposed murals and locations in the coming weeks. And I also want to just mention that Elmer is not listed as a location for our project, and that is because the Elmer Malahide Museum and Archives has also received funding from the estate, and they will be moving forward with their own installation in the town. So with that, Mike or I are happy to answer any questions you might have. And again, we'll also be bringing forward information to your councils and an update when that process is done back to County Council.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning, Mike. Do we have any questions for the two of them? Not seeing any, so look for a mover and seconder for this report, please.
The move.
Dominique and Mennel, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Councillor McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Brian Lima, good morning. You're going to tell us about GIS. Is that a first cousin of GPS?
Thank you, Mr. Warren, through to council. Building upon the success of the East Elgin Mapping Service Partnership, county staff in consultation with our member municipal staff acknowledge current GIS system limitations and the need to improve collaborative, effective, and efficient GIS functions to support our respective increased need of GIS internet-based mapping applications necessary to maintain compliance with the asset management planning regulation. The proposed enterprise license agreement provides unlimited software access to municipal staff and allows municipalities to undertake a number of enhanced GIS and mapping initiatives that will benefit almost all municipal partners, all while shifting individual municipal GIS license costs from local municipalities to the county. The recommendations are before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions for Brian? Everyone happy? All right, mover and seconder, please. Moved by Martin, second by McPhail. Please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Counselor Purcell,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Brian, you're still up. Another report. Please go
Yes.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through to council once again. This is the first of what we anticipate to be many municipal road access agreements that council will likely see in the coming future as it relates to the deployment of fiber along county roads. Before you is a report supporting the first request from Uplink Communications to install fiber in New Sarum for a distance of about 1 kilometer along Belmont Road. The recommendations rather are before you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the report, Brian. Questions for Brian? All right, seems fairly straightforward. Certainly good news for the people out in that area. We're starting to make a dent. Oh, question, Councilor McPhail, please,
Yes,
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Brian. With the installation of fiber along county roads, what is the justification for the requirement of directional bore as compared to the other method of plowing it in along the edge of the road?
Mr. Warren to Councilor McPhail. As it pertains to this particular project, the applicant is proposing both methodologies as required. So where they are required to cross a county road, they are required to use directional drilling technology as compared to the balance of the project fronting homes along the county road, for which open cutter or wheeled in technology is typically, or plowed in technology rather, is typically deployed. Requirements from county staff with respect to crossings of county roads is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. It's dependent on existing infrastructure that's buried within the county road allowance, and also to ensure that we aren't sterilizing the county road with respect to future potential provisions, whether it be from infrastructure replacement in future or whatever the case may be. So
Elgin County does has provisions to allow for open cut plowing of fiber optics on the road.
Absolutely, we work with our applicants to the extent possible to make sure that these projects are completed.
All right, very glad to hear that.
That is good news. Further questions? I think we have a mover and a second. I guess we're ready for the vote.
I think we have a mover and seconder.
We don't? Okay, a mover and seconder, please. Mennel and Purcell?
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Counselor McPhail,
Yes.
Counselor Purcell,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor French,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden,
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Council correspondence. We have the first one is the Elgin Clean Water Program with their annual report. Any questions or comments on that?
I'd like to
Counselor?
make a comment, Mr. Warden.
Certainly, go ahead.
This is an incredible program and it's just doing wonderful work as far as I'm concerned. And all conservation authorities are working together, but I really like the map now because now you can see that it's throughout the whole of Elgin County. It used to be more centralized in 2 areas and now it really is throughout the whole. And I'm very pleased to see that. And I think this is an excellent environmental project.
Thank you for that. Further comments? Looking for a mover to receive and file. Jones and Martin, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel. Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you for that. Second item is Gunn and Associates with a letter from Dunwich with regard to the road, Bratt Road. Any comments on that? If not, a motion to receive and file, please. Purcell and Ketchba, call the vote, please.
Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. And our third one is from AMCTO with a letter regarding the importance of training staff. Open for comments on that. Certainly, I think we all agree with that. All right, motion to receive and file, please. French and Jones, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
all right. Items for information. I don't think we have any, do we? No. Statements, inquiries by members?
Mr. Warden,
Go ahead.
thank you. Borrowing from a tradition from my Federation of Agriculture days, I would like to offer a bouquet to our HR director, Amy Thompson, for her valuable assistance in helping us to recruit a new CAO clerk for BAM. So thank you very much, Amy. It's very much appreciated. And I would encourage our other partners across the county that should you require, avail yourselves of our perfect and well-tuned HR department.
Thank you for that, Ed. Amy, do you have anything to comment?
I appreciate the comments. Thank you, Councillor Ketchba, much appreciated. I enjoyed working with yourself and your council.
Sounds like good news. We'd like to hear good news. Thank you for that, Ed. Other comments, statements? If not, any matters? Oh, Councillor Jones, go ahead.
Thank you, Warden. I guess on that topic, Ken Loveland, our acting CEO, had his last public meeting with us last night, and Lisa Biggs will be rejoining us on Monday. And so glad to, I think Ken's glad to see retirement for the third time and probably the last time. And we're happy to have Lisa back.
Again, good news, and certainly we all, most of us, anyone that knows Ken realize how valuable he is. So certainly wish him all the best in retirement, and good news for you having Lisa back. So thank you for those comments. Are we at closed session?
Notice of motion,
Notice of motion.
matters of urgency.
Yeah, any matters of urgency? Not seeing any.
Close.
And we're at, need a motion to go into closed session, please. Moved by Dominique and Mennel. Please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
all right. Moved by Martin, second by Mennel. Please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Motion to adopt recommendations from the committee of the whole, please.
For closed session, item number 1, that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder, please. Jones, Dominique. Call the vote, please.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail. Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin. Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Consideration bylaws?
Adopt recommendations from committee.
Oh, adopt recommendations, please. Mover and seconder,
Moved.
Mennel, McPhail.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Consideration bylaws? Consideration bylaws. Mover and seconder, please.
I have to read it.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw 21-06, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the Municipal Council of the Corporation of the County of Elgin at the February 23rd, 2021 meeting.
Moved by French, Ketchba. Call the vote, please.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
and again.
Adjournment. Adjourn.
Oh, we're at adjournment. Now, it is a little shorter than some of my meetings, but I guess if you average those 4-hour meetings with a 1-hour meeting, we're probably right in line, so. Thank you for your participation this morning and lots of good news today, so. Everyone stay safe, drive safe. Certainly our COVID numbers are much improved, and so that snow this morning is like a March snow, so. A little optimism, so have a good week, everyone. Thank you.
Need a notice, motion for adjournment.
Oh, motion to adjourn, certainly.
Moved.
Martin and Jones, please call the vote.
Deputy Warden Mennel.
Yes.
Counselor McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
all right, we are adjourned. Thank you.